So as Amani is going to get started, I'll just share that I am Tara Bellevue, co-founder of Today's Girl, Tomorrow's Woman. It is my pleasure to have you with us this afternoon, and so excited for Imani, who will always be one of my babies, and so proud of her. She's not only going to share some information with you today, but Imani walks the walk and talks the talk. And I am excited for you to learn and grow from her. I will not be able to join you for the entire duration of the session, but so thankful that it's going to be recorded today, as well as you'll be able to check out the video on our social media platforms, including our YouTube channel. So make sure you check us out. Thank you, Imani, for doing this for us.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to get started. One thing that's really important is last week I was able to do a personalized version of this workshop for one of our TGTW clubs. And I explained that if you want to personally reach out to me, I will do my very best to be present. I'll make sure that I can assist you and give you feedback. So if you're one of the individuals that actually reached out to me, I'll do my best to get back to you and make sure that you have feedback. Because one thing that we'll talk about is the importance of having people in your application process. So jot down my name and my information. I promise I'd love to be a part of your village, and we can figure out together how to help you grow and apply for opportunities and get those opportunities. So let's get started. Michael Jordan said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." When I was younger, I didn't fully understand this, but now I can say that if you don't at least try, you shouldn't tell yourself no. Very often, women, especially, or self identifying women, like to tell themselves no before anyone else can tell them no. You try to disappoint yourself or anticipate grief. But here's the thing, that's not the way that the world actually should be. In fact, there were opportunities that are waiting for you to apply for them. You're the exact person. You don't have to have certain qualifications you think that you have to have. And I'll go into why. Studies have actually shown that this is quite common for people to think, oh, I shouldn't apply for that. So I want to talk about the application process and how I'd like to break down what it really means to apply for something and to get in. Your mindset. Now, I'm all for, erasing toxic positivity and trying to be positive just because. But mindset is really important because we emit energies into the processes that we place ourselves. If you walk into a room and you're like, this is going to be terrible, chances are it's probably going to be terrible because you are walking in with that energy. The way that you approach the process of applying to something really makes a difference in how you're able to push past and have endurance. Next, reviewing the application. That seems like a very simple step, but it's never actually simple. I'm going to ask that you really take notes on the things that I'm giving you and really think about some of the simple things that might set you apart. Preparation, part 1. Communication, part 1. Communication, part 2. Preparation, part 2. And the interview. If you think about these 7 steps, really, I promise you, you can get back to this PowerPoint presentation and you'll really just walk through whether it's applying for a job, applying for a scholarship, whether it's really just looking for opportunities, some virtual, some in person. These steps work. Mindset. There are a million reasons to talk yourself out of doing something. And I will never forget, I took a woman in business course that really broke down how men will apply for something if they think that they are 70% likely to get the opportunity. And women will not apply for something unless they are 100% sure that they are qualified. I am going to ask you to believe in yourself, to believe that you are capable of having this opportunity, receiving the scholarship, being accepted into a certain school, having access to a network of people, even if you don't think that you're qualified. I'll just share a small clip of why. When you apply, why would you want your mindset to be absolutely correct? Because you have to think, go above and beyond. You have to ask yourself, why not me? Very often in an application process, we we come with reasons for why we should be like, thank you so much. But I feel like if you walk into it with it's already mine, explain the gaps. Why not me? Even though I have that one semester where I wasn't able to pull up my grades, I have incredible community service hours. Or maybe I don't have as much experience as some of my peers going into this industry, but it's because of that that I should have this job opportunity, this internship, this externship. Why should I be granted the opportunity to have this scholarship? Well, because I'm not like everyone else. I have had difficulties and I have triumphed. Next, I want you to read all of the instructions. Very often, what will set someone apart is not their incredible story. It's not the fact that they have organized everything properly. It's because they read the directions. I have accepted applications for things that I've sat on committees on because a person read instructions, not necessarily because they had the best materials. Part of reading instructions is noting all of the deadlines. I will never, ever, ever forget the importance of noting the deadline and making sure you don't miss it. And one way to do this is have personal deadlines. If all of your recommendations are due 1 week, they're due to you the week before. If you have to make sure that certain statements are submitted by a certain date, create deadlines for yourself. That really just creates time for you to build and factor in for the issues that come with life. You want to make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and all of your T's crossed to the best of your ability. Recommendations. This is humongous. If you need recommendations, you have to be on it immediately. Receiving recommendations looks like explaining to your recommenders what you're applying for, explaining to them who you are and why you're perfect for the opportunity, making sure that they're not copying and pasting an old student's recommendation for something else for you. When people sit on college application boards and scholarship boards, it's some of the same people. So if a professor or a former employer tries to recycle, someone might notice. Another thing is making sure that you've provided your recommenders with as much information as possible. One thing I'll talk about is your overall theme, your theme, who you are, the why not you. Whatever that theme is, you'll want it to be emphasized in your recommendations. And lastly, uniformity. Uniformity is huge. There are two types of people in the world, in my mind, that I have discovered: people who care about the small things and people who do not. I am one of those individuals who cares about the small things. I have gone through application packets where the header is one way on the resume but different on the cover letter. Or maybe within the cover letter, there are three types of fonts used, three different sizes. Maybe there are highlights. The person didn't take the time to really clean everything up. So you want to make sure that everything is as uniform as possible. If you have to submit a writing sample, make sure the header that's on your resume and on your cover letter is also on that writing sample. Same on your reference list. You want a level of uniformity because all of this shows that you care about the application process. So let's talk about what I like to refer to as preparation part one, research. Researching and reading all instructions looks different based upon whether you're applying for colleges, whether you're applying for scholarships, whether you're applying for internships or job opportunities at local stores. Research might be looking at the hourly wages to make sure that you are a competitive applicant. Research might be for college and creating a chart where you have your safety schools, your likely schools, and your reach schools. What are the GPA requirements? What will you have to explain to fill in the gaps, to make up for, so to speak? For job opportunities, it might mean learning all of the latest news surrounding that company. When you do this research, it'll help you to create your overall theme to make you stand out. I'll give you an example. Anyone who knows me knows two things about me. They know these two things because I have embedded them into every application I've ever made and into most of the activities I participate in. First, I, being the eldest of five girls, love my sisters. I love my sisters more than anything in the world. They ground me. They're part of why I work hard. And I'm going to make sure that if there's an essay, there's an interview, there's an opportunity, I am going to talk about my sisters and what it means to me to have the great honor of being a big sister. The second thing, no matter what I am doing, my job is to use my resources to give back to people. I have kept this mission since I was maybe 13 years old. And everything I've applied to from the age of 13 to now, which is about 25, I have mentioned these two things. There's no employer I've had, no volunteer opportunity that I haven't created this theme that I love people and catering to people. Because you want to be really thoughtful, your quality or your commitment might be different than mine. You might have 3 essays, and you want to be very intentional and strategic about what you will communicate through each of those essays. When I've applied, sometimes I've had multiple essays where I could say, okay, you know what? I'm going to use one essay to talk about giving back to people in my home, in my personal vicinity. Then I'll talk about giving back to people on a national scale. Then I'll talk about giving back to people on a local scale in my community and what it meant for me. And using 3 different examples to highlight the same message about who I am and how I show up. Now, I'm not saying this to you because I'm just making it up. I've walked the walk on this. My personal statement for college, I had 16 versions of. My personal statement for law schools, I had 8 versions of. And I wrote them, put them away, looked at them again, wrote them, edited them, and then I proofread them, and then I proofread them again, and then I proofread them again, then I edited them, and then I scrapped entire portions and almost felt like I was restarting. And I've helped many of my friends go through these processes for business school and law school and college and opportunities for jobs and internships. You want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. Put the time in. You'll never regret it. We'll talk about that later. Proofread. I've mentioned this before. You have no idea how quickly your college application Your B school application, your law school application is being reviewed. On average, these admissions officers are not spending more than 20 minutes on your application, something you've spent at least 2, 3 months preparing. They spend less than 20 minutes. You know what's always going to stand out? An error. So you want to make sure that you proofread. And one way to make sure that you're proofreading and that your package is as crisp as possible is to have a team of editors. Team of editors, you might say, Imani, I am not Vogue. I understand that. But that means your closest teacher. That means your best friends. That means reaching out to someone who is a mentor, an advisor to you, who's truly invested in your success. That also means reaching out to people you don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Because remember, you are sending your materials to someone who doesn't know you. And I want you to allow that vulnerability to be possible. So, communication, part one. You are not the first, you will not be the last, and people always want to help. In fact, people love to talk about their experiences. They love to tell you what they did prior to. Oh, I did this internship. Oh, I love graduating from this college. My favorite summer was when I did X. Remember we talked about research? All of this is wrapped up in there. You're researching and you come across that one person who graduated from the school that you're interested in from your neighborhood. Or that person that visited as a guest speaker. You go, oh, I remember that person went to this college. Hi, you don't know me, but I'm interested in going to your school. Could you tell me about your experience? Would you be willing to discuss how I can go through the application process? You want to be very strategic about this. You never know who's sitting on the other side. You never know. That very person might be best friends with the person who's on the committee. Or maybe they are the person making the decisions. Ask, and you'll probably receive. You'd be surprised how many people do not ask for help. Now you've submitted the application and you're like, whoo, it's above me now. Well, folks, I am here to pop that bubble because it is not above you. You've just finished part one. You've gotten the application out of the way, and it is a breath of fresh air. But this is when you double down. You double down. So, communication part two. I talked about people loving to have the opportunity to help you. I cannot stress this enough because I am a person that has taken 25 years to learn this. There are so many people who have been on my journey and have watched me do things. They want to support me. And I don't ask for help ever. It's just terrible. They're like, Imani, please let us know what we can do. I dare you to allow people to help you, and you'll go so much further. There's a little term called nepotism. And our counterparts throughout society have used their access and resources, aka nepotism, to give them opportunities that they normally wouldn't have had access to. Communication is about not just nepotism, but community building. People, self-identifying women, men, they want to see you succeed. And I know there are some people that you've grown up with who don't get it, who maybe they don't understand why some of the things you desire are important. But I need you to understand that there are individuals out there who know what you're going through. They know how nervous you are. They've been you. So let them help you. More importantly, If your application materials are great, you'll want their help preparing for the interview. Why? Well, they've done the interview process and they've been accepted. So let's talk about how we can really just capitalize on this communication. Preparation. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Read all instructions. Now you might say, Money, I've read the instructions already. You told me that before. I read everything. Well, guess what? If you've made it to different phases, there are more instructions. I dare you to go back and read over those first instructions and any additional instructions you've been provided. And then read the materials you submitted. Because at this point, when you go into the interview, they want to complete the picture, a full picture of who you are. Maybe the materials you gave them were spot on and they just want to see your face. Or maybe you said something that was intriguing and they really want to get to know you to make sure that you're a perfect fit for the job or the scholarship or the college or the graduate school. As you're rereading the materials that you've submitted, the package that you've given them, and as others do, I dare you to ask, what didn't I say? That's an odd question, right? But in asking this, it gives you the opportunity to prepare. When you go in the interview, if you left something out, now is the time to say it. That's you run out the gate saying it. And if you say, hey, I didn't miss anything, well, what do you need to emphasize? Did your theme come out clearly? Was it truly understood by the normal outsider? Or was the theme stuck up here? The next piece of advice is for those of you who are seeking opportunities that might not be virtual. Always have extra copies of everything. I've had moments, friends I know have had moments where you're running to the nearest Staples or Kinko's or Office Depot trying to print a version of your resume or your cover letter. Sometimes interviewers will ask you for these materials, not because they don't have it, because they want to see how prepared you are. Preparation is everything. With that, I've said proofread, proofread, proofread. Now I'm going to say practice, practice, practice. I know that I'm great at interviewing, and I still practice. I know that I love engaging in genuine conversation, and I still practice what genuine conversation looks like, sounds like, feels like. One way you can do this is simulations. In fact, because I am a people person, being in a virtual society has pushed me to question, how do I engage those I'm interviewing with or those I'm working with or presenting to through the internet? No physical in-person actions. So set up a family Zoom and simulate. Practice, practice, practice. Think about the questions you'll be asked. Oh, and by the way, remember that alumni I was telling you about to reach out to, or that person who had the scholarship or worked at the job? They would be the perfect person to practice with because they've probably done interviews with applicants before, and they'll tell you exactly what will be looked for. Lastly, presentation is everything. I cannot stress this enough. There are debates about not altering who you are. I'm not asking you to alter who you are. I'm asking you to make sure you are presenting your most polished self. Make sure there are no stains behind you. If you are going to be doing this virtually, try to make sure that your background is not distracting. Try to make sure that your lighting is fairly well lit. Try to make sure you reduce the noise. And if you can't, people will be perfectly fine. You can say, "Hi, I'm really excited about this opportunity. I apologize for any noise. I'm currently here with my family members, but you have my undivided attention, and I'm so grateful to speak with you all today." And mute yourself. Just be aware. I can tell you that it could be quite distracting if I were to have an interview and use this blanket that's behind me. Maybe it would just be better for me to have the black of the chair. I mean, it's nice and festive, but it'd be pretty distracting to someone who doesn't know me, who isn't looking for the festivity and needs all the festivities to come from me. Next, when I send out this PowerPoint presentation, you'll notice that there are all the ways that you should not interview in person. And so I've explained a lot of the do's. This video will explain a lot of the don'ts. Don't chew gum. Don't come unprepared. Don't accept phone calls. Don't treat people rudely. Sometimes part of the interview process is how you speak to people on the phone, how you interact with the receptionist or the janitor, because it's a company, it's a whole, or it's a community, it's a college, it's an environment. You're a member of it. There are many moving parts, and they want to make sure that at this interview, you can fit in. Now, here's the reality. I told you before, I don't want to encourage toxic positivity because everything that you apply for, you might not always get. But I want you to remember three things. One, I like to keep this on an Alex and Ani bracelet that I have. What's for you will not pass you. And I said before that putting in the effort and time in an application can be draining. And so if you don't get the opportunity, all is not lost. You might have done all of that to get all of the errors out to apply for the opportunity that you will get. Also, people remember there are times that I've reviewed applications for committees, for board positions, for scholarships, and I didn't select a person, but I remembered their application. And I've circled back around and said, "Hey, I know you didn't get this opportunity, but I really enjoyed meeting you. Think you're bright, and I'd love for you to be a part of this other opportunity." And with that, I like to tell you the truth. It's not easy, especially the college admissions process. I was the first to truly undergo an extensive college application process. I applied to 16 colleges, CUNYs, SUNYs, liberal arts colleges, universities, and all of my friends had been accepted into their schools by January. March rolled around, and I hadn't really heard much. In fact, I had been rejected from two schools and had been deferred to my number one school. Well, guess what? Some things are meant to just take their time. I told you I applied to 16 schools. I was rejected into two, and then I was waitlisted into two of the top schools that were ranked significantly higher, one of which was Johns Hopkins University. I got into every liberal arts college and had a full ride to Cornell University and almost a full ride to Georgetown University. I was shocked, but I remember being so devastated and reminding myself, well, you're not going to school. Here we are. Don't do that. What's for you will not pass you. You will have options, even when it doesn't feel like you will.